What's up, guys, and welcome back to another book review. Today, I am taking on The Wish by Nicholas Sparks. This is Nicholas Sparks' first holiday-themed novel. It's based around Christmas. Our main character's name is Maggie. Our semi-main character's name is Mark. The real co-main character in the book is a young man named Bryce. We have Maggie's aunt, who is taking care of her, who used to be a nun. Her best friend, whose name is beside me right now. We have, obviously, Maggie's parents, who are distant in the picture. So there are our main characters from the book. We start off the book in New York City. Maggie is an adult woman in her 30s. She's a photographer. She's a world-renowned photographer. She's traveled the world and gained success doing so. She opened an art gallery where her and a friend of hers, the friend sells some like high-end pottery, I think it was, and they opened a gallery together. Maggie finds out that she has stage 4 melanoma cancer and she is going to die. So within the first couple minutes, I guess, or within the first couple pages of the book, you find out that our main character is not going to survive. So right there, I go, okay, well, where are we going with this? Because the name of the book is called The Wish. So I'm like, okay, maybe there's a supernatural wish in here. My mind immediately goes back to A Walk to Remember, right? Because that's kind of, we're in the same realm. Young girl, or younger girl finds out she has cancer in that one. And so, again, Nicholas Sparks has no issue killing off a character. But I am immediately turned off by this. I don't want to know that my main character is going to die that soon in the book, because then I have a hard time investing in him. Either way, a young man comes into Lily's art gallery and says he wants to work for Lily. Or I keep saying Lily because I just read a bunch of Colleen Hoover books. Maggie. Wants to work for Maggie in the art gallery. And she's skeptical because she started a YouTube channel to document her art series, and then once she found out she had cancer, it became a channel documenting her battle with cancer. So she became skeptical that fans of her YouTube channel were trying to get closer to her, so she was skeptical. Mark comes in. They end up, after a short time, accepting him to work there, and push comes to shove there at Christmas time in 2019, I believe it was. Mark and Maggie are kind of forced to just be around each other, and they end up spending the holiday time together. Maggie tells Mark that she has cancer, and they get to talking. She starts to tell a story of a Christmas from her childhood, where she reveals that at the age of like 16, she got pregnant by some random guy she didn't really know or care about. Her parents found out. They're very Catholic. They sent her away to go live with her aunt, who used to be a nun in a place where they used to send young girls who got pregnant to take care of them. And then when they were finished giving birth and they put the kid up for adoption, they would go back to their lives as if nothing would happen. So her aunt had experience dealing with this. She was no longer a nun, but she was willing to do this. They live in a town called Ocracoke, which is in North Carolina. Obvious Nicholas Sparks commonality there. And so she's telling this story of how uncomfortable it is. She's newly pregnant. She has to move to this small city where small town. She doesn't know anyone. Her aunt and her aren't close. They're kind of just around each other in the beginning. And she ends up meeting a kid called Bryce, who ends up tutoring her. And they keep things quiet about her pregnancy for a while. They don't even mention why she's there. They have a few fleeting moments where, I think just by proximity, they find attraction to each other, and then the obvious happens, right? They develop feelings for one another. She tells him the truth. He says, I don't care. I'm not selling Bryce enough. Bryce is a very intelligent. Again, he's the same age, and he's tutoring Maggie on, her schoolwork, and he's teaching her, and he can do all these just incredible things. His whole family is very bright. He's very he's very intelligent, and he's pretty direct and straightforward in the way he sees life. He plans to go to West Point. He works out like a workhorse every single morning, on top of tutoring uh, her. He takes care of his family, and he did when he was younger because his mother is disabled. She's handicapped from the waist down, I believe. And the whole thing is, and his dad travels a lot. So Bryce is kind of the man of the house. He takes on the protector role kind of over Maggie. He feels like, he needs to protect her in ways. They grow close. And then we're bouncing back and forth the entire book between Ocracoke memories and back to the present. The present one, you're not getting a whole lot. You're just getting that she doesn't feel well. She's trying to connect with Mark. She's trying to just connect with someone to have this last holiday season be special. But she finds out Mark is a very deserving kid of this love that she's showing. She's trying to, spend a love-filled holiday. And she decides that this kid reminds her a lot of Bryce, and she wants to spend it with him. You know that there's no love interest. He has a girlfriend. You could tell there's a age difference there. You could just tell that that wasn't going to be anything. This is a platonic relationship where they're sharing a holiday, where they're both kind of going through things, transitionary places in life. Maggie is transitioning out of life, and Mark is transitioning into a newer adult phase. He wants to become a priest. He has a woman he's ready to marry. And it's kind of up in the air as to why he ever wanted to do this job in the first place, though he's good at it. Back to Ocracoke. Maggie and Bryce have a few dates that are really not called dates because they're not trying to complicate anything. Now everyone knows that she's pregnant, and it's obviously not Bryce's kid. So it's weird. But they keep falling for one another, and then they have to make a decision. The baby's going to be born. What are we going to do? There's obviously no way that we could ever make this work. You're from here. You're going to go to West Point. I'm going to go back to my life after putting this kid up for adoption. And there's no future for us. There's absolutely nowhere there could be. Like, us writing to each other is only going to hurt each other. It's only going to, whatever. So they come to this agreement that after she gives birth, they're going to send each other one Christmas card a year, and they plan to meet up back in Ocracoke when they turn like 21 or 24, something like that. So she has the baby after they say, like, the night that they tell each other they love each other and that they make that plan. The next morning she goes into labor. She doesn't get to say bye to Bryce, and they don't speak again. She goes on about her life. Bryce goes to West Point. He joins the military. And the big spoiler is Bryce dies. While he's in the military, they find out when she's returning for the trip to go back to Ocracoke, and she tries to contact him or whatever, she finds out that he didn't make it back. So she's constantly kind of grieving the loss of the life she never got to have but was building towards, and there was hope for. She had to grieve that, and she did that because photography was her and Bryce's thing. He was a great photographer. His mom was a photographer. They shared that in common. So her carrying that on as her career is kind of like her still building a life of foundation of love from him, working her way back to him and them having a life together. Well, then he died. So then it comes to the end where she has, Maggie now in present day has days left. And she's told Mark everything there is about Bryce. And, he goes, well, I have a confession. It comes to be that Mark is the son of Maggie. He's the kid that she put up for adoption all those years later, and he got to hear from his own mother's perspective how difficult it was for her and everything that she went through after and why she did what she did. And Mark was very mature for his age. He had very ration thinking with everything, and he goes, I just can't thank you enough for everything you did for me. Like, and that was his whole MO, is just like, he called her mom one time, and then he said, like, it was more comfortable for both of us that I called her Maggie. And he was with her until the day she passed, and he spread her ashes back in Ocracoke, and there was this beautiful closing to a book that I have to be honest, I tried to give up on it quite a few times. The book is slow in the beginning. It's sad to start because you know your main character is not going to make it. And then all the way through, you're fighting to go, what the hell is the point here? Now, you could tell that Mark was going to end up being the kid pretty early on. If we're being honest, you could tell that. There was no other way this was going to play out. The whole question I had the entire time is, what is the wish? What was the wish? What is the wish? So the wish was that she got to express to that child, you know, her love, her wishes for life, how she, you know, she didn't want life to go that way. And she got that wish to come true on that final Christmas as a magical, you know, Christmas magic. She got to spend her last holiday with her son and tell her story and let it live on through him in whatever life he creates now. So, and he's a good kid. That reminded her of Bryce. So she said she is going to rest peacefully with the idea that with all the time Bryce spent around that baby in her womb, there's no way Bryce didn't rub off on him, on Mark, and that was the comfort she was going to live with. And she even acknowledged, you know, as crazy as that may be, the life that I've lived and the way that, you know, things have played out for me, I have every right to believe that until my last breath. And they, you know, that's the way it went. It was a very sad book. It had a very, like, it was during Christmas time, but even when they're giving scenes of ice skating attempts and having dinners in nice restaurants, there was just this dark gray cloud that I felt hung over me the entire time that I read this book, because I think it was just that cancer cloud of, you knew that was coming, and I had hoped that maybe the wish was going to somehow save Maggie, and that once you found out Bryce was gone, you were like, oh, there's no other way for this to go. There's literally no other way for this to go. Because the only chance you had, but they explained that Mark was too young, you thought maybe Bryce was Mark and he had changed his name or something, but she would have recognized him. That was a long fetch. Again, the wish itself, I don't know if I would have made that the title. I don't know. So I would say overall, if we're rating this book, I give this one an 8 out of 10. I give it an 8 out of 10. This is why I believe if you buy a book and you start the book, you should finish the book. I hear a lot of book reviewers go, if I can't buy in the first couple pages, I'm out. Dog, we're adults. You got to read these books. You got to give them a chance. You got to let the characters and the stories develop. You got to give them a shot. If you dedicate to buying a book and you start it, finish it. It's just that easy. Let me know what you guys think. I'll see you in the next book review. Love you.